In this episode, I left off the map. We're checking out the Sheffield area of Tasmania. It's in the central northwest coast, and I'm taking a very special guest with me, Curly Haslam-Coates, who by trade is a wine connoisseur or a wine expert. But today we're going to a place called Tasmania, which is, I think there's about 7 or 8 different mazes in Tasmania. We'll work our way through the really, really big maze, and then we'll go into the cafe, where the cafe is really well known for pancakes, and the biggest serve of pancakes I've ever seen in my life. So I'm going to show you my version of a pancake. This is an adult pancake, and later we'll do a kid-friendly pancake. First, this is more of a hot cake actually than a pancake. First, I want to make my hot cake mixture. So self-raising flour, I'm going to put whatever that was of that in there. I don't measure anything when I make a hot cake. If you try and do measurements, you'll end up thinking that your consistency is right and it's wrong. So you just add things until you get the right consistency. So whatever amount that was, I'm just going to add the right amount of milk, eggs, butter to get the consistency that I want, and I'll talk to you about that. I'm going to melt my butter. I want about that much butter, whatever that was. Maybe 25 grams of butter. You don't want too much butter because it'll end up kind of biscuity rather than cakey. An egg I need some extra raising agent, so bicarb, about a teaspoon of bicarb. I need a good pinch of salt. Sugar, about 1/4 cup. My milk and my egg are my wet ingredients. So egg first. Milk. I'm going to add my butter now that it's melted. I don't mind leaving that butter in there because I'm going to use that later to cook. I'm going to stir with a knife because I don't want to overwork this butter. I want it to be nice and light and fluffy. I want to mix this gently. I need a little bit more milk. And don't mix it until you don't have any lumps. You actually want lumps because it shows you that you haven't over-mixed your batter. Especially with a hot cake batter, you're after more of a cake mixture than, or closer, or thicker mixture than you would use for a pancake, and especially for a crepe. That is very, very, very close to what I'm after. So if you can see that consistency, you can see how it's lumpy. All right, so that is the consistency that I'm after. Doesn't look like it's meant to be like that, but trust me, if you leave it at that, you're going to end up with a much better pancake. The pan that I have my butter in is the pan that I'm going to cook in. I've got my oven on. My oven was set at 180 degrees. So I'm going to start cooking it in here and then put it into the oven to finish off like you would a cake. My topping to go with this hot cake, I'm going to do a banana and Kahlua mixture and caramel to go on top of the pancake or the hot cake. All right, so spoon my hot cake mixture in. You want enough to cover the bottom of your pan. Remember, this is going to raise quite a bit because we've got all that raising agent. That goes straight into our oven. So that will cook for 95% of its time as it is. And then I'm going to flip it, and I'll show you a good trick for flipping it over and finishing off on the other side. While all that takes place, I need to get everything ready for my caramel Kahlua. Another pan, my Kahlua, some brown sugar, a little bit of butter, a little bit of cream, and my bananas. So I'm going to make my caramel first and then put my bananas into the caramel. So pan on again. The good thing about this is you don't need to make a caramel from scratch. Because you've got brown sugar, you've basically got caramelized sugar anyway. So it's not like you're using raw sugar and having to go through that process of pushing it to a caramel. You've pretty much done that. So we've got our brown sugar, can go in. I'm going to let that melt a little bit, but I'm going to use some Kahlua to help that process. Pinch of salt. Mix your sugar and your Kahlua together. A couple of knobs of butter. Stir our butter in. And then once I've got all that butter melted in, I'm just going to add a little bit of cream. And that's going to make my caramel pourable. A little bit of cream. Turn my heat off. Bananas. So while that's cooling down, I want to take a banana, chop it into rounds, and then pop that in there while it's cooling. I don't want to cook my banana too much because it's just going to turn to mush. So I'll leave that last banana in case I want some fresh banana to go with this. And there's our Kahlua caramel and bananas ready to pour on top of our hotcake once it comes out. And we've got about 15 minutes left to wait on our hotcake. So we'll come back and check that when we're about to flip it. So my banana, caramel and Kahlua is done. I just need my pancake or my hotcake to finish off. So I'm going to show you how to flip a hotcake. You need another fry pan, which is basically the same size as the fry pan that's in there. It can be, I could use that one and it'd be absolutely fine, but it just seems to work a lot easier if you've got one that's a very similar size. Grab your pan, one that's the same size or similar, pop it on top and just flip it over. And you might need to give it a little tap. But it should. And just remember that one's hot, so keep a tea towel on it. That goes back in to brown the other side. We've got about 5 minutes left and we're ready to plate up our pancake. That can come out. So you can see how much that's risen because of the way we treated it before we put it in there. So we left it nice and lumpy, we didn't overwork the batter, and you get a nice fluffy, well-risen hotcake. We'll take that out, pop it into your bowl, and smother with as much, I was going to say as much or as little, but really just as much of this banana Kahlua caramel as you want. I'm going to put all of it on here. That is not mucking around. That's 3 bananas and a whole bunch of caramel on top of a hotcake. I would not recommend eating that on your own. Find a friend or find 3 friends, a little bit of cream or a dollop of ice cream on top of that, and that is my adult version of pancakes. When we come back after we see the biggest pancakes I've ever seen in my life at Tasmania, I'll show you a more kid-friendly version of pancakes. Tasmania's hedge maze was planted by Brian and Laura Inder in 1987, and at the time it was the largest in the world. At Tasmania, there's a total of 8 mazes, a lavender farm, and a 1/5 scale model village called the Village of Lower Crackpot. Even though I don't have my kids with me on this visit, this place has a sense of magic and whimsy that people of all ages can get lost in. Eagle's Nest Retreat started as 20 hectares of farming land before Des Brown took a plunge and began building his first property in the year 2000. Since then, Des has expanded to a total of 3 properties, simply named Nest 1, Nest 2, and the one we're heading to now, Nest 3.
Welcome, Curly.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Hey, Des.
Welcome, Ben.
Oh, wow.
This is
Now-
amazing.
Well, I wanted to show you and share this mountain with the world, Mount Roland.
This is amazing.
Wow.
Well, I've got to get us ready for a bit of a cook. I'm going to cook something for dinner. So I'm going to go and get that ready. Kelly, if you want to have a wander around and pick which bedroom you want,
Definitely.
and then we'll catch up later. So I've got everything set up here. Curly's outside talking to Des, just getting a little bit of a rundown of Eagle's Nest Retreat. I've been here before, so I know a little bit. I haven't been to this one. This is absolutely spectacular. All of them have great views, and if you come here, you're pretty much going to relax. It forces you to relax, which is quite nice. For the cook, I thought I'd do some seafood, but the hero of this cook is going to be this miso. So Mirror Miso, they're based out of Launceston. They've won a couple of awards. Firstly, 2018, they won the Delicious Produce Awards. They won the gold state winner for that. And then 2017, they won a gold medal in the same awards program. So I'm going to make a little miso butter, something you can do at home, which is really, really, really easy. I'm going to use that to baste our seafood as we go along.
Hi, Ben.
Hey, how'd you go out there?
Oh, really good. Learning a lot about this beautiful place.
Have you been here before?
Only once, but not to this one. It's it's amazing, isn't it? Have you seen the bath outside as well?
Yeah. I like that Des has just put baths everywhere, which is...
And why not?
Baths everywhere and wood fires. And they're two things that, if you're going to relax, those two things are going to force you to relax. A wood fire and a bath, that's going to happen.
And I think as well, after a day of adventuring, it's exactly what you want to do, isn't it? Come back, do some cooking.
Yeah. So you know a little bit about these guys, don't you?
Oh yeah, just a little bit. It's the joy of being in Launceston. And they've been going for a few years now, but they've just hit the ground running. They spent a lot of time actually in Japan learning about the craft, really.
And that's where that flavour that everyone's after, that's where it comes from, isn't it?
Oh, seriously, fermentation. We've got some quality fermentation going on.
True.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's the root of a lot of flavour as well. So same with sourdough. We've got great, incredible ciders around here.
Yeah.
Fermentation really changes the nature of the flavour. Oh, it's fantastic. Pop a bit of meat or seafood or something with it, just because it's fermented already. Even if you just leave it in there for a little while before you actually cook something, you're changing the flavour.
Yeah.
And it's really all about that transformation.
It's a great marinating product, I think.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about this combo that we've got going on here.
Yeah.
Because quite often people think that you can't have red wine with seafood.
I think people are more... Same thing with truffle in the past. And you bought a truffle from Henry's place.
Yeah, I did.
I saw that. We'll have that later.
Excellent.
Truffle and seafood in the past was something that people wouldn't touch. But now truffle is starting to come into seafood. It's going into desserts and things like that.
Absolutely.
We are changing the way we think about certain ingredients, I think. So these are obviously cooked crays. Cooked crays are easier to get hold of than live crays now, just because people don't like handling them when they're live. But even though it's cooked, you can still finish it off over the top of the charcoal. You get a great flavour from it. A little bit of butter on top. If you don't make a miso butter, you can just make a flavoured butter of some kind of compound butter.
What about truffle butter?
Truffle butter would be fantastic.
Because, fresh truffle there, just shaved.
All right, so we're going to take those off. So they are done, and you know when they're done. Basically, as I said, they're cooked, so you're just looking for colour.
Yeah.
And they should just pull out of the shell. Now that had to be the biggest serving of pancakes I've ever seen in my entire life. There is no way one person could eat all of that. And they said at Tasmania that people come down to the cafe just to have those pancakes. So I'm going to show you a much smaller version, almost a breakfast version of that. We did the adult version of pancakes at the beginning of the episode. I'm going to show you a more kid-friendly one, and these are crepes. So this is you have them for breakfast if you want to. We have them for breakfast in our house quite a bit with the kids, but it's also something you can have for dessert or a brunch on a Sunday. So first things first, my plain flour. Again, I'm not measuring anything. You're just after the right consistency. Okay, so about that much flour, maybe 3/4 of a cup, an egg. It's very similar to a pancake or a hot cake in its ingredients. I'm not going to add butter because I don't want butter will shorten the mixture. I want the mixture to be stretchy. A good pinch of salt, some vanilla, about a teaspoon of vanilla essence, extract or vanilla bean or whatever vanilla flavouring that you've got. Some sugar. And then some milk. Don't really worry about wet ingredients and dry ingredients and that kind of stuff. Mix all this together and then we'll check our consistency. Right, so we're going to need a lot more milk. That's probably at a hot cake mixture there. Some more milk, whisk that in. This time we do want to whisk out all the lumps. We want it to be a nice, smooth consistency. All right, so you want to taste it now. So that's more like sort of thickened cream, slightly between thin cream and thickened cream, like a paint consistency. That's what you're after. Taste and just check for salt and sugar. Make sure I've got enough of each in there. Yep, perfect. Okie dokie. Pan on. I want that to get nice and hot. Because they're thin, they're going to cook really quickly, so you can have it nice and hot so you get some of that golden colour. And it's going to cook through really quickly because it's so thin. So you can have it be quite hot. Now, the way in which you put the batter into the pan is completely different as well. Normally you would just pour it in, it would sort of, because it's thicker, it would slowly make its way out, but it would cook as it's going, and then it would start to rise up. This time you want to put a little bit in and then turn the pan around so you cover the whole base of the pan and get a nice thin sheet. I'm going to do what I will tell you not to do at home, but my kids love it when I do this. I'm going to try and flip it in the pan. Here we go. Oh, I flipped it the right same. Oh no. Oh no. Ah, there we go. Not bad. It's good fun to do that. Don't let kids do it. Obviously the pan's hot and they're throwing it around everywhere. But it is, my kids get a real kick out of flipping. And crepes are a lot easier than pancakes to do the flips with. So give it a go at home. You need a non-stick pan though, or make sure it's not stuck. Once you turn it over, it's going to be pretty much cooked through at this stage because it is such thin batter and you have got quite a high heat. So you're just colouring the other side of it really. Once that comes out, you can start your next one. So once we're done with this, there are a couple of different ways that you can serve them. You can have them like you would a normal pancake, stack them up and put some fruit on top of them, or you can roll them up because they're quite pliable. Because you've worked out gluten, they're going to be quite stretchy and pliable. So you can put your filling inside, roll it up into like a cigar, and then sprinkle some sugar on top or drizzle some maple syrup on top. It's completely up to you. So that's 3 crepes done. You'll always get, well, you should probably get about the same amount of crepes to pancakes per batter because the batter's going to be thinner, but it should always equal out about the same. So there, I'll leave those 2 stacked. Like I said, you can stack them and put stuff on them. I'll show you how you can roll one up. So you still want that to be your presentation side, that first side that went down. Grab some of your berries, blueberries, raspberries and strawberries, sort of everyone's favourites. A couple of strawberries. You can serve these with cream if you wanted to. It's a little bit of maple syrup. Yum, yum, yum. Now roll it up. Fruit and maple syrup. If you haven't tried it before, try it. It's really yummy. All right. So we'll do a bit of a double act. So you've got one that's rolled. And we'll do fruit on top. And then you can put a big dollop of ice cream there or cream. And people always do this. They'll like put strawberries on there with the green bit on them. because it looks nice with the green. I've never really understood that. You can't really eat, well, you can eat the green if you want to. There's no reason why you couldn't. Because this is mine, I'm going to leave the green on there because I can pick my own green off. So a little dollop of cream or a cornel of ice cream on there would be fantastic. Finish off with a little bit more maple syrup. So a bit more kid-friendly, a different type of cake crepe baked in a pan. So we've seen the adult version with the Kahlua caramel. We've seen the insanely big version from Tasmania, and a little bit more of a brunch or breakfast version. Give whichever one you like the most a try. I think you'll like all three.